What's up guys, it's Ryan here, and welcome to this complete guide to keybinds. In this video, I'm going to explain what keybinds are, what the point of them is, and then I'm going to show you guys every single keybind of mine. This includes my keyboard binds as well as all of my mouse binds. I've also set up a keyboard and a mouse camera for those parts of the video to try and make sense of all of my binds. There's a table of contents in the description down below that you're welcome to check out, and I really hope you guys enjoy this video. It's something that's been requested a whole lot, and I hope it helps some of you guys set and improve keybinds of your own. So first off, what are keybinds? Keybinds are customizations to an action bar in Runescape. You can click on any action bar, click Customize Keybind, and then you can select a button to toggle any variety of abilities, spells, anything you want. As long as you can put it on an action bar, you can keybind it. Keybinds look very complicated at first, but they're actually designed for only one purpose. It's to make the game easier. If you're trying to PVM and you don't have a lot of keybinds, you've likely been in a situation where you either die and don't know what happened, or you have an idea of what to do in your head, like, I need to surge at this point, or I need to resonance the hold still at Telos, but you're unable to actually do it accurately or properly. If you're frequently pressing the wrong things, firing off the wrong abilities, or simply not firing off the abilities you need to at the right time, keybinds are a perfect solution to that. So as complicated as they may look, remember that they are set up and the whole point of them is to make things easy. The general theory behind keybinds, and this applies to my keybinds as well, is with practice, you want to be able to know where everything is, and you want to be able to access it easily and quickly without hitting the wrong keys. If you give yourself a set of keybinds and you're frequently hitting the wrong things, triggering the wrong abilities, that likely means that the keybind is not in a good place. The easiest way to start with keybinds is to figure out where you want to place your left hand on your keyboard, and then from that point, you can base all your keybinds around that. For me, I like to put my left hand over Q, W, E, and R. Before you start out with keybinds, you should figure out how many action bars you're going to need for what you're doing. For me, because I'm doing all kinds of PVM things, I have 5 action bars open at a time, and a lot of different things are keybound on there. I have weapon and armor switches, I've got prayers, I've got food, I've got spells, I've got offensive abilities, and I've also got all of my defensive abilities. Depending on what you're doing, you do not need some of these things, but I'm going to go through where I've put all of mine. Before I start, I'm going to quickly mention that keybinds are a very personal thing. Just because it makes sense to me or anyone else does not mean it's going to make sense for you, so go with what makes the most sense for you. That's always a lot more important, and the keybinds that I'm going to be showing are just suggestions. These are things that worked for me and helped me take my PVMing to the next level, and I hope that it helps some of you guys out. So, let's get right into the video. For starters, offensive abilities. You'll see that I've bound my basics to Q, W, E, R, and T. This effectively makes up my home row where my hand rests. You'll see my first 3 fingers do not move, and my index finger will hit both R and T. You'll also find one basic ability that isn't with the other ones. This one is my stun. I have mine under C, and I've got the threshold version under V. This is nice at bosses where I want to telegraph my stuns or stun at a particular time. I have it somewhere slightly different, so it takes a little bit of extra thought before I stun, but it's no harder to actually hit that button. For thresholds, you've normally got a flurry variant, destroy, assault, tendrils, and then slaughter. When you switch to something like a scythe or a 2-handed weapon, you've got Quake and Hurricane instead of Flurry and Destroy, and then the other 3 are the same. I have mine in the exact same place. That way when I've got my dual wield on or my scythe on, I can still use these 3 abilities, and the only 2 that are going to change are Mutated Flurry and Destroy. As you can see, it's very intuitive. I've got 1 row for basics, and the row under is for thresholds. Now that we've gone over my basics and my thresholds, we're going to look at my ultimate abilities. And you're going to see here that I've chosen not to keybind the majority of my ultimate abilities. This is intentional, as if I'm sitting on 100% adrenaline, I don't want to accidentally hit the wrong key and ult. I'm more comfortable clicking, and it's not very many clicks to ult the couple times per boss fight that you're at 100% adrenaline, so I choose to manually click mine. For my defensives, you're going to see I've got an alt modifier. I've got Freedom under Alt Q, Anticipation under Alt W, Reflect under Alt E, Debilitate under Alt R, Devotion under Alt A, Revenge under Alt S, and Preparation under Alt D. You'll see on the keyboard camera that my thumb will actually curl back and go over top of my Alt key. This didn't feel natural at first, but with a little bit of practice, it's very, very comfortable for me. This means that when I put my shield on, it's very easy to go through any defensives I want. It's the same home row of basic abilities, except this time I'm firing off my defensives. As soon as I unpress that Alt key, I'm back to firing my basic abilities. You're going to notice that they're intuitively placed. Alt Q and Alt W are Freedom and Anticipate, and those abilities go together at bosses like Araxar and Telos, so they're together on this overlay. At the same time, Reflect and Debilitate are my 2 damage mitigating abilities, so they are E and R right next to each other. After that, I've got Devotion as Alt-A, and then next to that, I've got Revenge, which is a niche ability that's frequently used when shield camping at Telos on P5 with Reflect. So I can go Alt-E and then Alt-S. It's very simple. It's a key press that I will not mess up and I can do reliably and comfortably. After that, I've also got Preparation, and you're going to notice that Resonance is not bound to my keyboard as I've actually bound it to my mouse. I'm going to go through all of my mouse binds a little later on. Although I don't have keybinds for Sunshine, Berserk, and Death Swiftness, so my DPS ultimates, I do have keybinds for a couple other ultimates that are used specifically in the Telos boss fight. I'll explain why. When I get to my phase 5 at high enrages, I'm going to start off with a Reflect, which is Alt-E. After that, I'm going to Revenge, which is Alt-S, and then following that up, I'm going to charge a Detonate, which is S. So all I have to do is remove my thumb from the Alt key, and my Detonate is charging. Once my Detonate is charged, I'm going to release it and then go Detonate Tsunami in the green beam. So I'm going to release my Deto, and then it's right underneath the Tsunami key. Everything is very close. There's not a lot of hand movement, and that's what you want, especially if the rotation is very precise. My Deflect Magic is 3. My Soul Split key is 4. My Deflect Melee is 5, and my Deflect Ranging is 6. You'll notice that this is right above my home row, and this allows for very easy Soul Split flicking. If you know what Soul Split flicking is, it's a way to get both the defensive effects of Deflect Melee as well as the healing from Soul Split. As you can see here, I've got my Deflect Magic up whenever the dummy is attacking me back, and I've got my Soul Split up whenever I'm dealing a damaging ability. This allows me to heal while also deflecting the damage I'm taking. You'll also see on my action bar 9 that I've got different versions of all of my deflect prayers with an alt modifier. This is so that if I'm pressing defensives while switching prayers, my prayers will still switch, even with my alt keys pressed. Without this, if I had my alt key pressed, I would not be able to change my overhead prayers, which could be extremely dangerous. My key to equip my special attack weapon, whether that be a hammer or a Gothic staff, is U, and the key to perform my special attack is I. You actually don't need to put your special attack on an action bar. If you go to Customize Keybind, you'll see that it actually has its own thing here. So you actually don't need to drag it to an action bar. You can save a slot by just putting it in your settings and ignoring it. In this instance, whether I want a hammer spec or Gothic staff spec, it's very simple. All I do is UI, and that's it. It's something I used to miss frequently, but with enough practice, I can do it without looking at it, and it's something that I don't mess up anymore. The last two things I've got bound that don't involve my mouse in some way are Surge and Escape. These are bound to 1 and 2. They're right next to my home row, and that's very convenient for getting around in a boss encounter. I find, especially at Telos, these are abilities that are used frequently, and they need to be used accurately as well, so putting them close to my row of abilities is very convenient. We've switched over the cameras, and now it's time to take you guys through my mouse binds. We're going to go through these one at a time. I'm playing on a Razer Naga Trinity mouse, although I also know a lot of people who use the Logitech G502. You don't need a gaming mouse or a mouse with programmable buttons to play RuneScape, but it's something that can help, especially if you're planning on keybinding a lot of things. So now I'm going to take you guys through what I have. To start things off, here are my weapon switches for Fortic auto attacking. My 7 and 8 keys put on my wand and my orb. Right above that, my 4 key puts on my staff, and my primary auto attack is my 5 key. Now I'm going to show you what Fortic auto attacking looks like with that set of keybinds. My staff is on, I'm going to do an auto ability, and then my wand orb. The trick to this set of keybinds is my thumb is not doing a whole lot of moving. That's something that's really important. If my hand was traveling all over the place, I'd be missing out on a lot of auto attacks, and it would just be difficult overall. It's intuitive, it makes sense to me, and after putting the initial time into learning this set of keybinds, my forticking is very straightforward. The other thing I like about my setup is my 6 key, which is right up here, is my barrage spell, which is effectively my alternate auto attack. It's going to display on the overlay as vulnerability, but it's barrage. This is really nice for doing Telos and wanting to freeze the minions. I can go in with a blood spell there, and then the very next auto attack, I can do the exact same thing, but with barrage. Now I'm going to take you guys through my shield switch and my resonance. I have my shield on bound to 10, and my resonance key bound to 11. This is extremely convenient, as if I've got my staff on, I can press 7 and 8 to get my wand orb on, I can press 10 to get my shield on, and then 11 to get a resonance off. It's very straightforward, it's very easy, and it's not something I'm going to mess up or miss. Aside from my resonance, I have 2 other things on this main pad of 12 abilities. I have my bladed dive, and I have my food. First off, the bladed dive. I have 9, 8, and 7 remapped to the 1, 2, and 3 keys on my Razer Naga. This means that 3 is my main hand, 2 is my offhand, and 1 activates bladed dive. In a PVM scenario, this allows for a very easy and fast bladed dive. I'll show it here in just a second. I can use an ability, bladed dive, and then put my staff back on just like that. without losing any time at all. Now, it's worth noting, if you were to set up a macro key to do your entire bladed dive with one button, that would be against the game rules. That's not a one-to-one, which is the only type of keybind that is allowed in RuneScape. So definitely don't do that. Make sure you've got separate keybinds for the main hand, the offhand, and the bladed dive. Now, the last thing I've got bound with my thumb is my eating. My 12 key is my Saradomin brew, and my 9 key up here is my soup or my secondary food. This works out really nicely as I'm taking damage between my 4 ticking. I can just quickly tap that, and I'm consuming food. If I really need to combo eat, I can hit both keys like that to Shark Brew, and otherwise I can just tap the 1 key for my Saradomin brew, and I can weave that seamlessly in with the rest of my 4 ticking. Now we're gonna go to the top of my mouse. My mouse wheel actually has 2 buttons if I flick it to the right and I flick it to the left. I've turned this into a Ring of Vigor switch, so I can flick my mouse wheel to the right to put on my Ring of Vigor, and then back to the left-hand side to put my Ring of Death on. This allows for very, very easy sunshine rotations. All I have to do is that. And I sunned with my Vigor, and I manually click my planted feet switch. Easy as that. And that's pretty much it for my MouseBinds. There are only 2 other things bound, and they are flanking and lunging. My flanking switch is right up here. All I have to do is press this top button, and then all of a sudden, my singularity is on. I can flank, and then I can go back to my staff for 4 ticking. Likewise, I don't have a lunging switch for magic, but whatever my secondary is, it's that last button right up top. You may have noticed throughout this video that whenever I've got a dual wield setup on, I've got dual wield abilities such as Concentrated Blast. But whenever I switch to a staff, my action bar automatically switches to an identical bar except with a 2-handed variant. The exact same can be seen when I use melee, where I had Mutated Flurry and Destroy replace themselves with Quake and Hurricane. This is something that is built into the game and it's called action bar binding. This is something that is extremely useful that I'd strongly recommend you do. It allows me to Sonic Wave, and then instantly swap action bars to the same keybind for Concentrated Blast. This will result in no gaps in your action bars and will allow you to go through rotations a lot more seamlessly. As you can see here, I can go through a Concentrated Blast, and then right afterwards, I can go through a Sonic Wave. It's the exact same keybind, it's easy to press, and it's easy to follow. Here's how you set that up. You right-click on the cog here, and you go Action Bar Settings all the way at the bottom. Once you're in here, you're gonna scroll all the way down to Action Bar Binding. And now for each action bar, you can set a style and a specific dual wield or 2H. So for example, for magic, my action bar 6 is 2-handed magic, and my action bar 10 is magic dual wield. Whenever I put on my staff, it's gonna automatically switch me to action bar 6. Whenever I put on my wand orb, it's gonna put on action bar 10. Okay, I think we've covered just about everything. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, feel free to let me know in the comments section down below. And outside of that, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I really hope it helped. So anyway, guys, that's it for me. Have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next one.